Welcome to the behind-the-scenes insights of the many adventures of Peter and Fee. This series will be exclusive to my Patreon supporters, but I've released the first episode free for everyone so that you can experience what it is and are hopefully encouraged to check out the Peter and Fee Patreon for more. BTS Insights is a series that takes a deeper look into each chapter and aims to explain the thought process and decision-making that went into creating each of them. Each episode won't be too long, roughly 5 minutes, and should be considered supplementary and in no way essential to the main story. This is just a little something extra for those that are amazing enough to support my work. So without further ado, here is BTS Insights for Chapter 1, Raiding the Goblin Hollow. Being the very first chapter of Peter and Fee, I wanted the adventure to start off with a bang. The idea of stealing treasure from the Goblin King seemed apt. It's a contained escapade. From the start, the reader understands the plot. They get in, they steal the gold, they get out. It isn't overly action-heavy, but just enough to give a glimpse of what's in store. This simple premise allowed me to focus on the chapter's main goal, which was introducing the characters of Peter and Fee. Right off the bat, I wanted to establish their personalities, and more importantly, how those personalities played off one another. This is depicted at the start, with Peter pacing and Fee lounging, with Peter's detailed plan and Fee's nonchalant attitude. It's shown in the difference of how they approach the hole, how they approach the goblin guards, of what they first notice when entering the throne room. The constant banter is also something I wanted to focus on. Whether they're waiting for the gnome or held up by goblins, they've always got a constant back and forth. The raid also gave me a chance to focus on their abilities. Right off the bat, we see Fee hopping around, her powerful legs able to take her to remarkable heights. Her hearing is amplified, and she's generally agile overall. Peter, on the other hand, is rather unremarkable, up until the reveal at the end that he is the Bubble Mage. I tried to pepper the chapter with clues and hints that he was more than he appeared. There are a few references here and there that he can wet his hands, without actually saying what the hell that means. I wanted to keep the reader wondering and increase engagement to sweeten the payoff at the end. So, why the Bubble Mage? To be honest, I had a few different ideas of what his powers could be, but this is the one I grew attached to and seemed the most fitting. The bubbles are an idea that I think is unique enough in the current landscape of fantasy media, and allows me plenty of room to expand the ability to the limits of my creativity, and Peter's. The setting of the Goblin Hollow was something that I wanted to leave a lasting impression. This meteor, carved out in the crater it fell in, becomes a foreboding tower, the claw-like fingers reaching up, the black sheen of the metal, the massive chasm surrounding it filled with the laboring goblins. The tower itself illustrates both form and function in the eyes of the race that inhabits it. Every passage is meant for someone. The many tiny holes allow the gnomes to scurry about. The small holes let the goblins zip down into the lower levels. And the grand doors of the throne room and that of the horde show the places the king himself frequents, as he doesn't bother himself with the rest of the meteor. The aesthetic of their homes gives insight into their ambitions. The entire structure is one solid piece. Even the throne rises up from the floor. You'd expect the lowly, subterranean goblin race to have a home that reflects such. And while they do live in a crater, their tower stretches into the sky, reaching. The throne room has high, high ceilings that the goblins can look to the tops of and wonder. The race itself doesn't treat its women well. As the men work, the women are either left unseen or are mere playthings for the king to busy himself with. However, while the main construction is attributed to the males, the females are responsible for the intricate artwork chiseled into the meteor. The detailed murals, the inlaid sconces, the throne itself were all crafted at the hands of the female goblins, with no credit or honor awarded. Sucks. I released the first 3 chapters at once so readers could sink their teeth into the world I created and finish them wanting more. More will definitely come, but these 3 chapters all served a distinct purpose for what I wanted the reader to experience. This first chapter was an introduction to the main characters and how they work together. It gave a small glimpse of the world and the style, but gave a proper taste of Peter and Fee and how they play off each other. As for the purpose of chapters 2 and 3, I'll go into those in their respective behind-the-scenes episodes. On a last note, I'd like to end with the taffy. In my original outline, Peter simply fed biscuits to Dumpy. Effective enough, but while writing, I felt it wasn't visceral enough. Why does food need to be visceral? Well, because of the scene with the second gnome. I could picture clearly Dumpy's blissful grin as the taffy squelched in his mouth, pressed into his teeth, caressed his tongue. And you can almost empathize with the second gnome for reaching down his throat to try and grab more. I don't think it'd have done that for a biscuit. There's 100 little changes like that, some minor and some that shifted the overall plot of the series, that occurred as I wrote. In chapter 1 alone, things like the detailed murals on the throne room door, the cow roasting on the spit, the harem sitting on the king's lap, were all ideas that didn't exist in my original outline and only came to life as the story unfolded. I'll point out these minor edits and spur-of-the-moment inclusions as this series continues. In fact, with chapters 1 to 3 released all at once, the BTS insights for chapters 2 and 3 are already up on my Patreon, exclusive for patrons right now. So if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on what goes into writing a chapter of Peter and Fee, please consider showing your support. Until next time.